So we were discussing like so the oral part and pharyngeal part. So what are the folds we have between the epiglottis and the tongue? So there are three folds, like there is one midline fold, you call it as median glossoepiglottic fold, and two lateral folds. Those are lateral glossoepiglottic folds. So the depression between the median and lateral glossoepiglottic folds is vallicula. Okay.
Yes.
So this picture is correct, but in fact this is little exaggerated one. The length of this will not be so much. In the true tongue, it will be exactly like this. This is Netter's picture. So you are finding V-shaped sulcus, foramen cecum, circumvallate papillae, isn't it?
Mm.
Then you are finding different papillae, foliate, filiform, fungiform. But then this is lingual tonsil. See the distance now, it is perfectly correct. Epiglottis, median glossoepiglottic fold, lateral glossoepiglottic fold. These two depressions are valliculae. Singular is vallicula. Okay, this is palatine tonsil. What are these two folds called as? I have been telling you. Palatoglossal arch with palatoglossus muscle, palatopharyngeal arch with palatopharyngeus muscle. Okay, if you know these features, you can write maximum part of the tongue. In fact, coming to the surfaces, it has superior surface, then it has inferior surface. Already I have explained you with the help of diagram. It is just texted whatever we have studied. Anterior 2/3 is oral part, posterior 1/3 is pharyngeal part, base is nothing but the root. Okay, so this V shaped is the sulcus terminalis. Okay, divide the tongue into anterior 2/3 and posterior 1/3. Okay, so the meeting point of the sulcus we have foramen cecum. So foramen cecum, we know it's an embryological remnant of thyroglossal duct, as Imad was telling just now. Okay, so the downward growth of which helps for the formation of thyroid gland. Okay, now coming to the oral part, it comprises of this median furrow. It is rough surface due to the presence of papillae. Okay, and of course on the anterior aspects and on the lateral aspects, it is all surrounded by teeth, and mobile part is tongue. Okay, so the pharyngeal part is lying behind the sulcus terminalis, where we do not have any papillae but so many lymphatic nodules here, which is called as lingual tonsil. There is one Valder's lymphatic ring, no, which is completely formed at the oropharynx. How is it formed? The lingual tonsil, palatine tonsil, then the auditory tube
The
also has tonsil, no?
tubal tonsil.
Tubal tonsil, and lower down to the nose we have nasopharyngeal tonsil. Okay, so that complete ring is called as Valder's lymphatic ring, which is considered as first line of defense, because whether we inhale or whether we eat, it has to cross these lymphatic structures. Okay, that means it is killing the microorganisms. So just this picture helps us to know the parts of pharynx. Behind the nose, nasopharynx; behind the oral cavity, oropharynx; behind the larynx, we have laryngopharynx. Okay. Now this is the base of the tongue, which is actually very much backwards. It is like the tip of the tongue will be just folding on itself backwards, which will help us in the process of deglutition, which was explained in physiology with few students, isn't it? Now coming to the inferior aspect of the tongue, it is showing one midline mucosal fold, which is called as frenulum, and on either side of the frenulum, we have folds which are called as plica fimbriata or the plica fimbriate. Okay, then on either side of frenulum, you will see we have lingual veins. Okay, that's the reason the hypertensive drugs are just put beneath the tongue. If you have ever observed, okay. So why are we giving sublingual administration of certain drugs like dipin or nifedipine to control blood pressure? Because the drug will immediately dissolve here and it gets absorbed into the blood vessels. These veins and arteries immediately they absorb the drug, so it can be a quick route next to IV route to control the blood pressure. We can give certain drugs if we want immediate effect of the drugs. Okay, beta? So the same thing is written here. Like you can see this picture, then we will go to that slide. The median fold is frenulum linguae. On either side, we have deep lingual vein. Then all these folds are called as plicae fimbriae. Okay, going back to the descriptive part. See, inferior surface is covered by smooth mucous membrane. It has midline mucosal fold, frenulum. which is connecting the tongue with the floor of the mouth. Lateral to the frenulum, we have deep lingual vein. Okay, deep to the lingual vein, mucosal fold is called as plica fimbriata. Okay, so this everything is explained. Now this is correct picture. This is the frenulum you are finding. These are the lingual veins, and this is plica fimbriata. Lateral to the lingual vein is the plica fimbriata. We can administer oral drugs like sublingual administration through this route. Now coming to the muscles of tongue, we have extrinsic muscles and intrinsic muscles. Extrinsic are the muscles which are coming from nearby bones, whereas intrinsic are the muscles which are starting in the substance of the tongue and ending there itself. Okay. Now if you look at this picture, we have extrinsic muscle. This is which bone? Mandible bone. In this particular part of the mandible behind, we have genial tubercles. From the genial tubercles to the tongue, we have a muscle called as genioglossus. From the hyoid bone to the tongue, extrinsic muscle is hyoglossus. From the styloid process of the skull bone to the tongue, we have styloglossus. From the hard palate to the tongue, we have the palatoglossus. So how many we have seen? 4. Okay, those are the extrinsic muscles. Genioglossus, hyoglossus, styloglossus, palatoglossus. And within the substance of the tongue also we have muscles like superior longitudinal, inferior longitudinal, transverse and vertical. Okay, so this is Avishram Singh's picture for you. You can draw easily. Okay, it has labelings only which are required. From the hard palate, palatoglossus. From genial tubercles of the mandible, genioglossus. From hyoid bone, hyoglossus. From styloid process of skull bone, styloglossus. Glossus means tongue. Then nearby muscles. Now you see this picture will help us to understand the intrinsic muscles. So you are finding certain muscles are running in vertical direction. Okay, so vertical group. Then we have certain muscles are running in transverse direction. These are transverse group of intrinsic muscles. Then we have certain bundles like superior longitudinal muscle. We also have inferior longitudinal muscle. So these are the 4 set of intrinsic muscles. Of course, movements to roll, to flatten, we do different movements of the tongue, no, to protrude, to retract it back. All intrinsic muscles will be acting, and the extrinsic muscles are also helping to hold the tongue inside the oral cavity so that it is not falling out. Okay, the tongue is divided into 2 halves by median septum, and the muscles of each half is, we have both extrinsic and intrinsic, all are occurring in pair. These muscles are confined to the tongue, the intrinsic ones. They originate in the tongue and they get inserted there itself. It doesn't have any bony attachment. They help in alteration in the shape of tongue. Like we do pranayama techniques, no, rolling the tongue, something like that, if you are aware of it. So type of intrinsic muscles: superior longitudinal, inferior longitudinal, vertical and transverse. So see here, this is the superior longitudinal muscle which is lying just beneath the dorsum of the tongue. It curls the tip. I have the pictures which are showing the movements also. The tip inwards and rolls it posteriorly, superior longitudinal. Okay, in the section it looks like this, just below the dorsum. This is superior longitudinal, like this, to roll it backwards. Okay. Then we have inferior longitudinal. It lies on each side lateral to the genioglossus muscle. It curls the tip of the tongue inferiorly, downwards, like this. Okay, this one, inferior longitudinal. Then we have transverse muscles, lies inferior to superior longitudinal. Okay, it is also running from the septum. This is the septum to the margins. Okay, and then it narrows the tongue and it increases its height. Then we have vertical muscles. It runs inferolaterally to the dorsum. Okay, then flattens the dorsum. So we have vertical group. Okay, we have this is vertical, transverse. Okay, now coming to extrinsic muscles. What are the various muscles I told you? Styloglossus, palatoglossus, genioglossus, and hyoglossus. Okay, then coming to each one. Now, genioglossus. What is the name of this bone? I said
The
Mandible.
mandible. Inside of the mandible, we have 4 genial tubercles. No, 2 superior genial tubercles and 2 inferior genial tubercles, like this. Okay, 2 superior.
Yes,
to
ma'am.
inferior. Okay. So origin is, it is coming from the superior genial tubercles, what we have in our textbook. Insertion is, it is coming into the mucous membrane of the tongue. So what is the function? It protrudes the tongue, depresses the central part of the tongue, and increases the volume of mouth as in sucking. Okay. So this is like mandible bone we have. These are the superior junior tubercles we have. Okay, from here to the tongue we have the genioglossus. From the hyoid bone to the tongue we have hyoglossus. Okay, see, this is the hyoid bone. From there, if you observe, it's moving to the tongue. So arises from the greater cornu of the hyoid bone and also from the body of the hyoid bone. Insertion is to the side of the tongue. It depresses the tongue and it is also assisting the genioglossus to enlarge oral cavity. There I told you sucking, no, like that. Then this is the styloid process. Lower part of the styloid process and upper part of this stylohyoid ligament, okay, which will be allowing the origin of this, and you will see insertion is again side of the tongue. It elevates and retracts the tongue. Okay. Palatoglossus, this is hard palate and remaining part is soft palate. Okay, from the soft palate, I just told you we have palatoglossal arch anteriorly, no? The palatoglossal arch, we have the palatoglossus muscle coming from the soft palate, getting inserted into the lateral margin of the tongue. It elevates the tongue backwards and depresses the soft palate. Okay, so movements. Protrusion is genioglossus. Retraction, styloglossus, hyoglossus. Depression, hyoglossus, genioglossus. Elevation, styloglossus, palatoglossus. Now, what is the nerve supply all the of the muscles? If you remember, like myotomes. From the embryological accept also, I told you the muscular part of the tongue is supplied by hypoglossal nerve, except the palatoglossus, which is supplied by the vagus. So these are the various tongue movements what we have. Okay, now coming to the vasculature, the blood supply of tongue comes from where? Lingual artery. Lingual artery is a branch of which artery? External carotid artery, isn't it? So lingual artery supplies the tongue. Is coming from the external carotid artery. It passes between the two muscles. What are those? See, if you cut hyoglossus, you are able to see the artery. That means deep to the artery, whatever muscle we have is genioglossus. So it is running between the hyoglossus and genioglossus muscle. So the further branches what we have here are dorsal lingual artery, deep lingual artery, and sublingual artery. Okay. So this is common carotid dividing into external and internal carotid. Then the secondary supply, apart from the lingual artery, we also have facial artery through tonsillar branches. Okay, ascending pharyngeal artery also gives blood supply to the tongue. Okay, venous drainage. We know what are vena committents, isn't it? Suppose if the artery is accompanied by two veins on either side, we use the word vena committents, isn't it? So venous drainage, it is drained by dorsal lingual vein and deep lingual vein. Okay, the deep lingual vein is this one, the lower one, which is beginning at the near the tip of the tongue, and it is running beneath the mucous membrane. Okay, visible. Just now we have seen, no, on either side of the frenulum linguae, we have seen deep lingual vein, isn't it? So that's how there it is seen, and then it is running downwards, and finally it is draining into internal jugular vein. Whether it is dorsal lingual vein or deep lingual vein, finally they drain into internal jugular vein. Okay, these are the deep lingual veins on either side of frenulum linguae. Okay, so these are, see, the dorsal lingual veins are accompanying where on either side of the lingual artery. Okay, they drain the dorsum of and the sides of the tongue. Okay, they run along with the lingual artery and they are also draining into internal jugular vein. Okay, now coming to the lymphatics. See, this is the apex of the tongue. The apical part is draining into submental group of lymph nodes. Okay, from the tip till here, submental. From there it goes into deep cervical group. Then margins, you will see that drains into submandibular group of lymph nodes, and from there it goes into deep cervical again. This is the basal part which is draining into directly into deep cervical, or also called as jugulodigastric group of lymph nodes. Okay. So that picture is good. The same thing is written here. Okay, now coming to the nerve supply of the tongue, innervation. So anterior two-thirds general sensations of taste is coming from lingual nerve, which is a branch of mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. Okay, this is general sensations of taste. What is the special taste sensation coming from? Cauda tympani,
Cord.
which is the branch of facial nerve.
Fish.
Okay. Then you will see the posterior, uh, in the anterior two-thirds only, the posterior part is supplied by the glossopharyngeal. What is this part overall? I told you it is the pharyngeal part, oral part. Pharyngeal part is supplied by the glossopharyngeal. Okay, as you go much behind, we will see the vagus. Okay. So again, this is Vishram Singh's picture. It's very good. General sensory sensation is coming through lingual. Special sensory information comes via cauda tympani. All muscles except palatoglossus are supplied by hypoglossal. Behind it is all glossopharyngeal. More behind we have is vagus through its internal laryngeal. Okay. Actually, palatoglossus, I told you it is supplied through vagus, no? But through cranial root of accessory. In some books, it is given as accessory. Don't get confused. The cranial root of accessory gets distributed via vagus nerve only. Its branches will join vagus, and with the help of vagus, it gets distributed. Okay. This is all explained, which is again text. So, what are the various functions of the tongue? Deglutition, that is swallowing, taste sensation, speech, breastfeeding, self-cleansing system. Okay, and also helps in mastication. Okay, now coming to clinical aspects. So, what is the inflammation of the tongue? If there is any infection, you will see the tongue will get inflamed. You call that condition as glossitis. Okay. So, if there is any yellowish discoloration, you call that condition as jaundice. We know, isn't it? Always we should see, like, if the patient is unconscious, what we do, we will try to put him in prone position, isn't it? Why? Because in supine position there are chances of tip of the tongue closing the oropharynx. If oropharynx is closed, automatically the breathing mechanism, respiratory passage also will be occluded, obstructed, because of which person may die. Okay, so that is. Referred pain is felt in the ear in the diseases of posterior part of the tongue because of this glossopharyngeal nerve. This is what is the dermatomal rule. That is, ninth nerve is supplying the posterior part of the tongue and also the ear. Okay. Then carcinoma is also very common. When I was discussing parotid gland, I told you because of the use of pan, gutka, pan masalas and all, nowadays these cancers are like increasing. Okay. So I hope you understood. Okay, stop here.